is worth over $1.3 billion.
I mean, that I did not know. I did not realize that. So we're kind of kicking it off with a bang, then, aren't we?
This team is valued at about as much.
What is going on, guys? It is JJ here, back with a new video to take a look today at the insane logistics of Formula One. We're gonna keep this intro short and sweet because honestly, we work in logistics. It makes things so much more advanced and unique when you actually get to watch something that you do day to day, but more so you get to look at it from a sporting perspective. Because let's face it, sports itself, like there's so many different logistics or like operational or transportational things that go into it. It's like people working at like a football pitch or like a training pitch, like the people that are there even serving food, like service industry and industries like this that then lead to entertainment or sport. They're all intertwined. They're obviously all intertwined. Qatar World Cup is a great example of that. But we're gonna take a look at the insane logistics of Formula One. You guys have to let me know your thoughts. We're gonna see if anything can surprise us here because I think it's DHL, and I think they actually operate at a really high standard when it comes to F1, considering how much money is moving around. But yeah, let's get into the video. As well, guys, you can find the original video down in the description below.
This video was made possible by The Crew 2, a new open world racing game from Ubisoft.
A new open world racing game.
No sport is as logistically challenging as motorsports. While equipment
that I can see. Sport, in motorsports, whoa. I mean, actually, you know what? They might be completely right. Just due to the sheer fact of the number of countries they're dealing with. So I'll take that back. The human
is only half the athlete. The vehicle is the other half. The performance of a motorsports vehicle is directly tied to having the right components in the right place at the right time, so the logistics are part of the competition. Racing may be a sport, but it's not all fun and games. Teams are businesses that are expected to make money. The most valuable Formula One team, Scuderia Ferrari, is worth over $1.3 billion.
I mean, that I did not know. I did not realize that. So we're kind of kicking it off with a bang, then, aren't we?
This team is valued at about as much as tech companies Discord, Bird Rides, or DoorDash. The wealthier teams, like Ferrari, are able to spend more money on transport to bring more equipment and spare parts, which can make the difference between winning and losing when things go wrong. Formula One is by many measures the most international sports competition. Over its 21 yearly races, the teams traverse 5 continents with as little as a week.
No. I guess you could say sporting competition, yeah, in terms of they travel everywhere. But, like, it's world football. It's world football.
A chaotic ballet of trucks, boats, and planes transports this show across the world each year. 10 teams compete in Formula One, and despite it taking place worldwide, it is by all measures a European sport. 8 of the 10 teams are registered in and operate out of Europe. Only the Indian and American teams are from elsewhere, although the Indian team is actually based in the UK, while the US team, based in North Carolina, operates a secondary forward base in the UK so that its staff doesn't have to
McLaren, I'm pretty sure.
Back to the US between
Haas.
the European races,
no,
which in
Haas.
recent years have been held consecutively with a brief interruption of the Canadian Grand Prix in the middle of the season over summer. Thanks to this, the European leg of the season is, compared to the rest, relatively easy logistically because within Europe, you can drive. The cost of shipping by truck is so comparatively low to shipping by plane that teams bring whole buildings with them to European races. These buildings are what are modestly referred to as motorhomes, but can be as large as Red Bull's 3-story structure that includes offices, bars, and a restaurant with a complete kitchen. All of that packs into a number of trucks and can be assembled in less than 2 days. Along with all the other equipment, including
that part is unbelievable. 2 days to put that all together.
Spare parts and electronics, convoys of dozens of trucks per team crisscross the continent before each European race. Typically, races are held every 2 weekends on Sunday, which gives teams plenty of time to relocate before activity begins on the Thursday before the Grand Prix, but from time to time the schedule is crunched and races take place 2 weekends in a row. This proves a more daunting logistical challenge as teams only have 3 full days to break down, transport, and reassemble their equipment at the new race site. Even worse, for the first time ever, the 2018 season saw 3 weekends with 3 races in a row. On June 24th, the French Grand Prix took place in Le Castellet, and the next weekend the Austrian one was held in Spielberg, finishing off the following weekend with the British Grand Prix in Silverstone. The Austria-UK transfer was the most difficult one as it involved
'Cause you gotta
traveling
go through the Alps.
1,000 miles, including through the choke point of the Channel Tunnel. For this track, each truck was
I
manned
forgot
by
about that, the
3
English
drivers
Channel.
so that while one drove, the others could sleep in an RV that accompanied the convoy. That way, the trucks could drive continuously, only stopping to refuel. But again, these races are easy logistically compared to the ones outside of Europe.
I mean, they could also just like duel up with the drivers, just go, it's called a team of drivers, and then bam, 1,000 miles should be done. I mean, elevation permitting, obviously, customs clearances permitting, should be taking like a day or two.
The ones known as flyaway races. Just like with the European races, a majority of flyaway races occur with 2 weeks between them, but from time to time, races are scheduled on back-to-back weekends, thousands of miles apart. These back-to-back flyaway races are the most logistically difficult weeks of the Formula One season. On Sunday, April 8, 2018, the Bahrain Grand Prix was held in Sakhir, Bahrain. Then 7 days later, the following weekend, the Chinese Grand Prix was held in Shanghai.
I don't know how they did that.
Over
I got no
4,000
clue how they
miles
did
separated
that.
those two racetracks, and yet, just like with every race, everything came down on Sunday night in Bahrain and had to be operational by Thursday morning in China. Even worse, Shanghai is 5 hours ahead of Bahrain, which is effectively 5 hours fewer to do the work, but in reality, the planning for this transfer began months before. Around January 2018, 3 months
See,
before
I
the
would
first
love
race
to be a
of the
part of that
season,
planning
each
process.
of the
That'd
10
be so
teams
sick.
packed up 5 sets of shipping containers. Each of these sets held their sea kits, carrying things like chairs, tables, appliances, cooking utensils, and some elements of their garages. They send these bulkier and less expensive pieces of equipment by sea, as it's massively less expensive than sending them by plane. The number of containers
And then
per
they
team
could take
varies,
longer
as
in
the
case any
wealthier
delays
teams like
happen.
Red Bull will take more, but in general, each team takes about 3 40-foot containers. Of course, ocean shipping is slower, but since there are 5 sets, there is always one at the right place at the right time. That January shipment sent the first 5 kits to the first 5 flyaway races: Melbourne, Australia,
When you're busy dealing with groceries, you can miss a few things. See, you missed that, didn't you? With Walmart Plus in-home, an associate delivers and puts away your groceries, whether you're home or not.
Hi, Mike.
No tips, no markups, no worries.
I think we should explore a few solutions.
Grammarly suggestions, cat.
Sakhir, Bahrain, Shanghai, China, Baku, Azerbaijan, and Montreal, Canada. Then, as each race was completed, its kit was packed up and sent to the next flyaway race destination without a kit. The Australian one went to Singapore, the Bahraini one to Russia, the Chinese one to Japan, the Azerbaijani one to the United States, and the Canadian one to Mexico. And then towards the end of the season, when there are no more tracks to send kits to, they're sent back to the team's home bases for the winter. At the racetrack, the Formula One logistics
And then
team's
the planning
main
just begins
downtime
all
is
over again.
actually during the race itself, but for the Bahrain to China transfer, real work began the Thursday before the race. That's when each team's logistics manager started making their teardown plan, deciding in which order and into which containers their different pieces of equipment should go. Once that was completed, there really was not a lot to do until Sunday. On Sunday morning, before the race even started, the pack-up began. Many of the spare parts can't be used during the race. They're not going to replace an engine during the Grand Prix, so they're the first pieces of kit to be packed into their containers. None
that
of which
is so
happened during
correct.
the race itself, but within 15 minutes of it ending, the main pack-up began. The cars, the most important pieces of equipment, were subjected to a post-race inspection to be sure no illegal modifications were made, but everything else was immediately ready for packing. All the equipment that the teams wanted at the destination first were put into one of 3 priority pallets. Together, each team's priority pallets filled up the first plane to Shanghai. As soon as these were packed, they were driven directly to the airport only a few hours after the race ended to be prepared for the early morning flight to Shanghai. As that
That's
plane
insane.
took off, the final pallets were being packed up back at the racetrack. Only about 6 to 8 hours after the drop of the checkered flag, all pallets were packed up and on their way to the airport. By midday Monday, all 6 of the Boeing 747s used to transport the team's equipment to China were in the air. These planes were chartered by Formula One, but the teams still pay for the space. Also on Monday, all the staff started their journey to Shanghai. Many of the lower-level staff just flew on normal commercial flights, while some of the higher-profile drivers flew private between the 2 countries. After 9
Which makes
hours
sense,
in
they're
the air,
F1
the
drivers,
first plane
but
touched
still,
down in
come on,
Shanghai
why fly
around
private?
early evening local time. The freight was unloaded and brought to customs. By midnight, all the priority freight was on its way to the racetrack. Overnight, logistics workers arranged.
And then honestly, this whole process is absolutely daunting to me. The logistics and the logistical analysis of all of this. beyond unreal. It's absolutely unreal. But you know what? Fair play to F1. I don't know how they do it, but I would love to be a part of it. It's phenomenal. It sounds so intricate and decisive, and yet still they find ways to make it completely successful. I wish I knew how. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think about the Insane Logistics. I would love like a breakdown of each little thing, like an itinerary of what they do for the day, because I feel like it would be sick. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and peace.